So, you may not want to revisit the Brighton game from the weekend, you may just want to move on. But we can't really do that just yet. There is one big talking point from the game that we still need to discuss, and that was the high press. You see, some people think this is the best pressing display we have seen at United under Erik ten Hag. The reason they say is because Brighton are a team that persist with playing the ball out from the back. They literally always do. Yet in this game, they were forced regularly to go long from the goalkeeper. So United must have done something right from a defensive point of view. However, people are making the counter-argument that Brighton had a lot of shots in this game, so United must have been quite poor defensively, suggesting the high press wasn't very good. As usual, you guessed it, the truth is very much somewhere in between the two, so stick with me on this one, we're going to break it down. So the first thing to make very clear is that it definitely was Manchester United's intention to press high. This was by no means a mid-block, this was not a low block, this wasn't a park-the-bus approach. Manchester United were proactive with the way that they looked to press high up the pitch. There was a keenness in terms of getting towards the ball, applying pressure to Brighton. Now, the way that United looked to do this varied throughout the game. We had a couple of different pressing methods. One we discussed in the video the other day. That was the usage of Ahmad being involved in the high press and the rest of the team connecting from there. Now, to do this, Manchester United would do what they often do, and that is force Brighton to play to one side of the pitch. Now, once we had done that, what we would see is either Bruno Fernandes or Mount, one of our two false nines, dropping deeper onto Billy Gilmour in midfield, dropping onto the solo pivot, like this. What we would then see after that is Ahmad connecting the press, coming forward into this position here to press the centre-back. Now, you might think this is going to leave the full-back free on this side, but it didn't, because Mazraoui was willing to connect, Maguire could connect, and suddenly Manchester United are man-to-man, and this is a good pressing structure. We can see this here. Initially, United are in that sort of hexagon shape that we've spoken about in recent weeks, but what's going to happen is we are going to force them to play one way. You can see the player on the ball here. They've been forced one way and eventually forced backwards. And this allows Manchester United to lock on man-to-man. Bruno Fernandes in this position in the middle here is going to drop onto the pivot. We've got Rashford is already man-to-man and also Casemiro is as well. Now, as the ball goes backwards, that is going to be our cue to shift. So we can see Bruno Fernandes has dropped into this position here onto the central midfielder. Mason Mount is curving his run towards the player on the ball. And we can also see Ahmad at the top connecting the press, joining up with the rest of the team towards the centre-back. You can also see Ahmad's body language. He has got his arm out. He is telling Mazraoui to join him. And that happens. Manchester United do that. Manchester United end up man-to-man, literally all over the pitch. Again, Ahmad is telling Mazraoui to join him. United end up man-to-man. And what we are going to see is that Brighton are forced to play the ball long. So this is a really successful press from Manchester United. We've gone from a zonal position to a man-to-man position, forced Brighton to play long. Unfortunately, on this occasion, we do have an issue deeper in the pitch, and that is that Lisandro Martinez doesn't get very close to Danny Welbeck, and that we can then see off-the-ball runners from Brighton in behind. But actually, the pressing approach was really good. We forced them to play long. We just have to do better on that long ball. There was also another pressing structure in play from Manchester United in this game as well, and that was actually sticking to more of this 4-4-2 shape and being incredibly aggressive on the press. So Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, quite simply, are going to go man-for-man with the two centre-backs, which seems pretty logical. We then got Ahmad's going to come onto the fullback, and Rashford onto the other fullback. The problem is, Billy Gilmour now has space. He has room to receive the ball. So this would be a problem for Manchester United if we were passive, but we weren't. Kobbie Mainoo was invited to join the press. He would come up high on Billy Gilmour. Now, you may look at it and say James Milner is now a problem, but it wasn't the case for spells of the game because Lisandro Martinez was given the license to connect. So once again, this is what we've cried out for over the past couple of seasons. United going from a zonal 4-4-2 position to eventually engaging in a literal man-to-man press. We can see this here. We've got our two midfielders, false nines, strikers, Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, however you want to describe them. Now, what they're going to do on this occasion is show real intelligence and force Brighton to play to one side of the pitch by working in kind of like a clockwork fashion. You're going to see Bruno Fernandes curve his run one way towards the goalkeeper, and Mason Mount is going to curve his run this way onto this pivot here. However, the idea basically is for us to force Brighton to play to one side of the pitch, and that happens. Now, that is our cue, as always, to lock on man-to-man, like we just discussed. And we're going to see that here. You will see Bruno Fernandes in the middle here, pointing at Billy Gilmour over here, saying, we need to get someone on him, lads. Someone needs to mark him. Kobbie Mainoo obliges. Kobbie Mainoo joins up in the press here, and now we can see it. Bruno Fernandes is pressurising the goalkeeper. This is aggressive. We've got Mason Mount on the centre-back here. Kobbie Mainoo joining the press as well. And eventually Brighton are forced back into this corner because Bruno does really well. He forces them one side, and once again we are now man-to-man. This is really good from United, apart from the fact that James Milner could be free in the middle. But no, he's not free because Lisandro Martinez is willing to step out of the backline and engage and join the press. And this is why, for the first 30 minutes of the game, United looked really good from a pressing point of view. So what went wrong? What happened? What was the real issue? Now, as usual, it would be wrong to blame one individual. It wasn't Ten Hag's fault. He didn't suddenly do something wrong. It wasn't one player's fault. They didn't suddenly do something wrong. But collectively, the team started to become a little bit disconnected. And that was because of things that Manchester United done badly, but also that Brighton done well. But there was a real big problem here, and an elephant in the room that we need to discuss regarding this match, and that was Lisandro Martinez. Now, we all love him. We adore him as a player. He's a great footballer. But in this game, he had a real problem following Danny Welbeck. In the air and on the ground, he couldn't really get close enough to him. It was a big, big problem. And that's an issue with a man-to-man system. If you go man-to-man, but one of your players is always losing their situation, that leaves you with a big problem and an issue to try and address. And Manchester United attempted to do that in the second half. We took some of the pressure off of Lisandro Martinez by not forcing him to be man-to-man with Welbeck. We gave him extra support with Harry Maguire, but also the midfielders. This led to a problem, though, with our press, because what we saw in the first half was a man-to-man system. The whole team going together. You have one man each. Suddenly, in the second half, or certainly as the game progressed, we went to more of an approach where we had a spare man at the back. But that left us one player light elsewhere on the pitch, and we can see it here. So initially, we've got our front two, Xerxes and Bruno Fernandes. Nice, this is good. We've also got Casemiro backing up the press into midfield. Like that second pressing structure that we looked at, this is good. It's a good start from United. But Brighton are going to play a really, really easy pass from the goalkeeper. I mean, it's a good pass, to be fair to him. But we see this from modern-day goalkeepers. He plays the ball through the lines into João Pedro. And you're probably going to look at Kobbie Mainoo in here and go, well, he's just miles off it. He should be connecting the press. That's the midfield position. He should be man-to-man in the midfield. And I think there's a fair point. Kobbie probably should react a little bit quicker. He should adjust his movement quicker. The question is, why was he having to adjust his movement? Well, actually, on this occasion, Brighton have actually just moved around really nicely, and the communication at the back from United probably isn't quite good enough. Again, I'm not going to put this on one particular player as such, but there was a problem here, because basically, James Milner, at the top here, who was previously Kobbie Mainoo's man in midfield, at times, is now playing all the way up here. And João Pedro, who was actually almost in a left striker position at times, so he could perhaps be Maguire's man, or maybe Casemiro's at times as well, has actually now drifted all the way to the left side of midfield, from a United point of view. This is a real problem for Kobbie Mainoo, because he doesn't know who he's meant to be going with. Is he meant to be going with João Pedro in midfield, or is he meant to be going with James Milner, who's in the forward line? This is where perhaps communication at the back could have been a little bit better. But it was kind of an early sign of a problem for United early in the second half. The other problem in the second half was what we were talking about earlier. The fact that United couldn't fully connect the press because we were one man down, high up the pitch. And this time it's not because of Kobbie Mainoo being out of position. It is because of a worry or an anxiety with our defenders. That fear of connecting them to the press. So in the first half, Lisandro Martinez was connecting the press, although being beaten at times. But we saw Mazraoui connecting the press. Dalot could do it at times. We went man for man. In the second half, it was different. So United have kind of got the same triggers here. We've got Bruno Fernandes being aggressive on the goalkeeper, like he was in the first half. We've got Ahmad coming inside. We've got Xerxes on the pivot, and Rashford on the far side defender as well. It's good. It's aggressive play. But there is one man free at the top of your picture there, top left. He's in too much room. And again, with good ball-playing goalkeepers in the modern era, he's found too easily. And now Kobbie Mainoo's got a problem. He's 2 versus 1. He's got James Milner in midfield. Like we've said, he was his man at times. But he's also got the fullback that he's got to try and deal with. Kobbie Mainoo is not a player that can reliably deal with 1v2s. That's not a criticism. He's just not that sort of footballer. And this creates a massive problem. The question is, why was he 1v2? In the first half, he was 1v1 most of the time. Why was he now 1v2? Well, because actually, in deeper areas, we were +1. And the reason we were +1 is simply because in the first half, we didn't really deal with the man-to-man system. Because Lisandro Martinez kind of had that worry in the first half, where Welbeck was beating him regularly, to tell the truth. It's felt like at times we dropped that extra player. So rather than asking Lisandro Martinez to be super aggressive on Welbeck, we asked him and Maguire to deal with them. And like we said, that leaves us one man short higher up. It's why our fullback suddenly can't join Kobbie Mainoo in the press, because he's over there. dealing with this player. And it kept happening in the second half. And it was a real concern. Again, we're going to go aggressive. We've got near side winger on the fullback. We've got Bruno Fernandes on the centre-back. We've got Xerxes on a pivot. And the far side winger coming to engage the centre-back. But because we don't back them up, because we don't connect the press, despite Kobbie Mainoo's best efforts here to get forward, because we don't really do it properly as a team, we are kind of picked off with a pretty simple combination to find a third man. And again, the reason that that man was free was because our fullback was deep, busy occupied by this winger. And the reason that he was occupied by the winger rather than someone else was because our centre-backs were 2 versus 1 with the striker Danny Welbeck. This was the real problem for Manchester United. The centre-backs didn't deal with it well enough in the first half. And unfortunately, that was largely a Lisandro Martinez problem. He struggled with the man-to-man battle. So Erik ten Hag kind of made a sensible decision. We're struggling man-to-man at the back, so let's help him out. Maguire and Lisandro Martinez can mark the same player. But when we're still pressing the same high up the pitch, that's going to leave us light in midfield. And that's where problems started to occur for United. Add to that the fact that we fatigued, these players became tired, which is only natural early in the season. But also that Mason Mount was forced off with injury, and the press, which looked so strong for the first 30 minutes, just started to fall apart slightly. We started off with a zonal press, which could go man-to-man, and the intensity within that press was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's really good from United early on. But then things start to fall apart a little bit. Because players have lost their battles, we have to adjust. Because players are fatiguing, we adjust. We leave more spaces. And then there's a problem. So that's my opinion on the high pressing situation for Manchester United at the weekend. The people that said it was good are right. The people that said it was bad are right. It was both at different spells during the game. Now, that's a concerning thing, because we had spells of the game where we were bad at pressing. However, it was also a good thing, because last season, we had spells of the season where we couldn't press for even 10 minutes. This was a really good pressing display early on. There are signs there of United improving in this area. There's still work to do. Someone like De Ligt coming into defence being aggressive will help. Perhaps a signing like Ugarte, extra mobility in the midfield, will help us. So there is improvement, but there's still concerns. That's the actual answer as to what is going on with the Manchester United high press, or certainly what went on in the game against Brighton. So hopefully that's cleared it up for you guys. Don't believe the narrative that it's the best press we've ever seen, because I don't think it quite was under Ten Hag. But also don't believe that it was a horrendous press. Again, as usual, it's somewhere in between. And that's what it looked like for United. It's a problem, but there's things to work with there. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.